Thank you so much for coming. Personally, I'm so excited. I'm coming back to Happy Valley after 7 years. And somehow, when I got back yesterday, I was thinking about the first time I met my wife here and all the happy memories that ever happened. Sometimes going to those early morning classes were the worst, but that's not what came to my mind when I landed here yesterday. All the happy stuff. I wish I could just go back in time and relive some of those moments, including that class that we just spoke about. Uh, I'm Rajesh. I'm a product manager at Meta, and I've been at Meta for about 2 years now. I've been in tech for about 7 years. So I have essentially 3 topics. I want to say who I am, get to know me a little bit, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, reach out. I'm happy to help in however I can. The second thing, which I'm most excited about, is talking about mixed reality. That's why I'm here. I want you all to get inspired and think about building apps and building your company for the metaverse, for Quest specifically. And the third topic is, in a way, a continuation of the second topic, which is how can you transform that passion into something that is of a startup or a business, which I think is the focus of this week. So, this is a picture of me, total wannabe, almost 12 years ago, right here on campus. I'm super proud. Like when football games happen in Seattle, I'm talking about my experience watching football games at Beaver Stadium. Very proud to be a Penn Stater. So proud. In fact, a lot of Penn Staters work at Meta, Microsoft as well. So we have like our internal group where we often chat about things happening at Penn State. So I graduated in 2014, about 10 years ago. I stayed back to do my master's in engineering science. I met my advisor this morning. He was as excited to see me, I guess. During my master's, I also met my wife at Penn State. She was studying here as well, and we both graduated in 2017. Interestingly, we both studied together, but we are also continuing to work together in the same company. She works at Meta as well, so can't get away from each other, I guess. Who can guess the city? Anyone? Guess the city. Dubai, there you go. I'm from Dubai. I was raised in Dubai from 1995 to 2010. So I knew Dubai before Dubai was cool. You all know Dubai because it's cool now, but I've seen the desert before it became all of the cool skyscrapers and stuff that you see today. So I was there from 95 to 2010, and then I moved to the States, and I moved to this beautiful town, Happy Valley, in 2010. Over the last many years, I've visited over 15 countries, and my goal by the time I turned 50, don't ask my age, but by the time I turn 50, I want to visit at least 100 countries. That's my life goal. Speaking of goals, which is kind of going to be the undertone of my presentation today. In 2010, 14 years ago, I was new to the United States. I didn't even know what trekking was until I spoke to some of my friends here, family, and they were telling me about all these awesome things. They were telling me about Chicago and Gotham City from Batman, and I hadn't visited any of these places or done any of these things ever. So I wrote a list saying that I want to do these things. Again, I didn't know what half these things meant when I wrote it, but I said that I want to go and do it. Interestingly, I still haven't done Chicago, and I still haven't gone to the Rocky Mountains. Setting a goal might look really easy, but sometimes it takes a very, very long time to go and achieve some of it. And that's going to be the undercurrent. How do you set a goal? How do you accomplish that goal? Why does it take intentional planning? So keep that in mind. In the spirit of crossing out all these things in my life, like I said, I started my career at Microsoft. I worked in Microsoft Teams. How many here know Microsoft Teams? Awesome, awesome, awesome. I was working for Microsoft Teams for about 4 years. I did all of the video conferencing platform. So anytime you get on a call, and if you love it, let me know about it. If you hate it, don't tell me anything. Wanted a change, and personally, I was heavily motivated by what the possibilities of virtual reality is. So moved on from Microsoft, started my career at Meta, and I've been at Meta now for 2.5 years almost. So really proud of all the work that we've been doing here. That takes me to the crux of what I want to talk about. What is mixed reality, right? Let's start there. How do you start designing for mixed reality? Well, there's a spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, there's virtual reality, and then the other end of the spectrum is augmented reality. When you think about virtual reality, I'm in this room, but I want to escape the present. I want to escape whatever I'm seeing. So when I don my headset, when I wear my headset, I want to go into a different world, and I don't want to see these walls, I don't want to see you. On the other end of the spectrum, I still want to be present. I want to see all of you, but I want something a little more. I want to be able to see what the weather is and get to know the weather a little bit. I want to perhaps play a game while seeing all of you and still interacting with you. That is the other end, which is augmented reality. So mixed reality essentially is the bridge that kind of, it bridges the gap between virtual reality and augmented reality. It helps you think about what that scale is and how do you design products around that scale. What does all this mean? Quest 3 is our first mixed reality headset that we're super proud of. Has anyone tried it? That's fantastic. Fewer hands than Microsoft Teams, which is interesting. But for the others, I really think you should go to Best Buy and try it. It's a fantastic device. It has natural inputs, which means you don't need controllers anymore. Just move your hands. It is a mixed reality headset, which means it helps you bridge that gap. With this one headset, I can do virtual reality, escape, or I can do augmented reality, which I think is phenomenal, given that we are doing this on a Snapdragon chipset. To give you some perspective, if you take an equivalent chipset, Snapdragon 8, which is on like Galaxy, Samsung Galaxy, we are doing all of this mixed reality and metaverse on something that is of that chipset. So it's a great engineering feat. And with this chipset, we also get amazing 4K plus display resolution, and it's only $499. And it's really important for you guys to think about this, because as you all are entrepreneurs, when you build your application or when you build a product, you want to think about your users on how much are they going to invest in your product. So sometimes that's what you call as top of funnel, right? So you want to see what is the least path of resistance for your customers to start entering and start engaging with your product. Your product can be phenomenal, but if that entry point, top of funnel, is going to be of high resistance, you're going to have a tough time getting those users in. So $499, that's a fantastic price point. Like I said, Samsung Galaxy phones of an equivalent chipset is going to cost you north of $700, $800. So at $499, we are giving you metaverse, which I think is a fantastic opportunity. We have over 500 applications that are shipping on Quest line of devices. And don't think that these are just games. These are apps that span across games, entertainment, and fitness. In fact, fitness is such a popular use case. You can see one of the apps called FedXR. There's another one called Supernatural. I encourage you all to, again, try these out. So you know, the possibilities are endless. I think you should use your creative mind to think about what are all the possibilities that you can do in this form of mixed reality computing. There you go. There seems to be a small lag. Sorry about that. So 500 applications. We spoke about mixed reality versus virtual reality versus augmented reality. Some design thinking for you all, right? When you start designing your app for this new headset, the first thing to be asking is, how can you connect with what actually happens in the real world? So here's an example of a real app. It's called Vermilion. This is an app that is available in Quest today. It gives you the ability to do painting on a canvas. Now think about it physically. If anyone here is an artist, in this room you usually have a canvas and you have brushes on this side. You pick it up and you start drawing. You can do the same thing on a Quest headset. You can do the same thing with Vermilion. So Vermilion is trying to connect with what I call as skeuomorphism, which is what happens in the real world, what does a user do in the real world, and how are you able to capture the essence of that in the mixed reality world. So it's very different from the kind of app experiences that you guys are probably doing on Android and iOS, but this kind of breaks those barriers and gives you a different kind of opportunity to think very differently than how typically we think about apps. Here's another example. In fact, this comes up in several examples that Meta ever cites. It's called Piano Vision, where if you want to learn how to play the piano, you can do it on Quest today. And the cost of learning is $4.99. Just get a headset, you need internet, and now you can start learning how to play the piano. Phenomenal app. Encourage you all to try it. And then the last example is, how can you, in this space, have an escape room? How can you play escape room with your friends? You can think about augmenting the space with a different color altogether and be co-present with your friends and be in an escape room. Again, a real app. I expect you to die. It's a real app, not literally. It's the name of an app. So those are all the possibilities, right? So when you start thinking about how a user behaves in the real world, and when you do that research, you'll realize that you can achieve a lot of it in these headsets, kind of give the same experience. It gets even better. There are no physical limitations. So there's this app called Arcaio that is used for spatial planning. How does this space look like if I want to see what a couch here would look like? How can I do spatial planning with it? And that's augmented reality. That's not virtual reality anymore, right? So I have a space and I'm able to augment another virtual object in that augmented space. Pretty cool. And the second example is, this is a fun one. It's this app called World, where if you want to just check out some place in downtown Italy, downtown Rome, yeah, go with your friends and check it out. There are several examples of this. So it gives you like a world map of you being transported to that place and being able to explore it. And then the last one is something that I personally am super excited about, is learning how to DJ. That's what TribeXR is. And you all know what that is from Friday nights and Saturday nights. But this is a cool one. How can I learn how to DJ with all those virtual objects that resemble a DJ, the disc and all of that? And then how do I also be present and be able to enjoy a concert. So when you really think about designing for mixed reality, let go of physics. There's no physics anymore, right? But at the same time, you can also inspire from your life in general on how you behave and how you interact with objects around you. So it's two goods, right? No physical limitations, but you can also inspire from the real world. That's what makes it so unique. I spoke about all this, but that doesn't mean that you have to go and build all of that. You can even start something small. In fact, one of our apps is WhatsApp. We have WhatsApp, which is a 2D application. So it doesn't have to be one of those, immersive kind of applications. You can start small. You can start with something as small as like WhatsApp, 2D, and then kind of build your way up into something that is more immersive and 3D. In fact, if you closely watch Mark Zuckerberg, this is something he announced at Connect.
So you're going to be able to play hundreds of Xbox games, including titles like Halo and Minecraft and Elder Scrolls, and you're going to be able to do that on a massive screen anywhere you go.
There you go, right? So this is again Xbox application that's available, and you're able to game inside the Quest. Right? So you can start small and build your way up to some of those more deeper augmented reality, virtual reality applications. Let me pause here to see if anyone has any questions so far before I kind of jump into the next part of my discussion, which is transforming into a business.
What was your favorite part of all this?
My favorite part about all this is two things. One is there was a point in time when I was kind of being a builder of all these things from the outside, especially when I was a student. And then the one thing that I always wanted was to get a feel for what it is to be from the inside and to be building these things. So the fact that I'm working on this, I'm working on several teams to build some of these things, especially the Quest 3, that is probably the most gratifying thing ever for me. The second thing is doing this. When I have an outreach, when I'm able to inspire, even if I inspired one of you today to go and like even consider building an application for Quest 3, I think I've done my job. I've in a way, I'll feel good about myself. But if everybody does it, even better. But even if one does it, I'll be happy.
Thank you. I don't know if you can answer this, but what was like the best application you were presented with, and you referred to like say your higher ups, but was denied for Quest 3?
So if I get your question, an app that was pitched but was denied by leadership?
Yes.
I don't know of any. I mean, we typically have an app submission process. So there's never, it's usually through a submission process, which actually I'll talk about in just a bit. So if you ever build an app, you'll have to submit it through a channel, which is the store submission process. And typically there's a big team that does some tests against your apps. And then they have guidelines and policies as to why they have accepted or why they are sending it back to you for further review. So it's less about leadership, it's more about like existing policies and guidelines that are already in place that help developers submit the right kind of apps. So leadership doesn't get involved, it's more about like a dedicated store submission team that gets involved.
Sorry, in case anyone also has questions, just let me know, I'll pass the mic.
So, I haven't myself tested out like Quest 3, but I'm just curious, like, regarding like all these AR, VR headsets in general, I feel like there would be some tactile sensing that misses, right? So, it's just vision and you kind of try to emulate that surrounding you. Is there something like that people are working on right now to address these kind of issues? Because, for example, as you're saying, like playing a keyboard, virtually, yes, like I mean, I can see my hands doing it, and then I can like see it through the headset. But in reality, if there isn't, actual tactile sensing that goes back as a feedback, would be a better idea, right? So are there like people developing these or something?
Yeah, there's all kinds of developments happening, but like something that's more relevant to what you asked for is haptic feedback is something that is absolutely critical. So we believe in that. So Quest 3 today, they come with controllers, and typically for apps that are haptic heavy, we advise users to have those controllers so that they get the haptic feedback, so that when they're clicking on something, there's a little bit of vibration on the controller that kind of gives you that sense of presence. So it is an active topic that is being discussed, and as you see with the controllers, we are making progress on that. So it's important. It's something that we should like continue to get feedback from developers like you on how we can like keep getting better at it. Does he need a microphone?
If
Okay,
you can
cool.
say
Yeah.
that.
Anyway, so obviously with Meta pricing the product at $499, how would they like? All right, so Apple's Vision Pro the price at 3.5. That's like my biggest question. Like, all right, so did Meta actually think about possibly increasing the price, or do you think it's product within that price point? I don't know if you can answer that, but I was just curious about the price point decision again, based on some competitors being priced way high.
Yeah. There are so many answers to this, like speculations and stuff. I personally don't know how pricing is done and all of that. I don't work in that part of the organization. I think the goal is also like for us, it's about what we see as the right thing for our business and for our customers. So yeah, we are informed by other players in the market, but that doesn't really drive some of these decisions. It's more about where we see our customers and what our customers are kind of asking from us. That kind of generates a lot of the thinking. Compete, sure, we look at them, but that's not like kind of driving us to think about like some of these decisions. I don't know if that answered your question. That's the extent that I know of.
Thank you.
Sorry. Don't know if this is working, but it's fine. How fleshed out is the mathematical side of it for like applications of like architectural or structural engineering? Like say you want to like I don't know, design a building. Are there applications there where you could see what would work, what wouldn't work structurally?
So we have something called as, which I'm going to talk about in just a bit. There's something called as a presence platform SDK that actually gives you some of those capabilities. I'll talk about it in just a bit. There's a QR code that you can scan. There's like extensive documentation online about some of those things. We do provide those APIs as part of our SDK. So I'll share that in just a bit.
Awesome, thank you.
So do you see, you made some comparisons, between the Samsung and the Quest, like using the same processor chip and like daily use functions and stuff. So do you see long term the Quest like replacing a smartphone, or do you see that with your own habits, like do you tend to use the Quest more or use your cell phone less maybe?
Good question. So personal opinion, this is just me sharing from my own personal experience. I grew up in this interesting environment, so where I was seeing the analog world transform to the digital world. So I actually grew up with VCRs, cassettes, CDs, and we don't have any of those things today. Which means I also grew up seeing desktop to PC to mobile. So my opinion on this is every successor, over a period of time, will like kind of provide enough value certainly better or more value than its predecessors. So that step change will happen. When it happens, how it happens, or whether it's already happening, it's hard to tell. But for example, I enjoy using my headset where I'm doing stuff, but I'm also able to communicate on WhatsApp with loved ones, friends, and stuff. And I think that's really cool. So it could happen. But yeah, it's still like, but that's my observation. Like there are successors, there are predecessors. Successors sometimes do much better, and they're able to like kind of carve out a space. So let's see how it happens.
For the builders in the room, like people that are like building really cool applications, different things, participating in hackathons, competitions, how do you connect that with big businesses like yourself? Like how, with these skill sets they're learning and building, right? They're in love with building. But same as your personal story, you love building. But how do you connect that with a viable career?
Viable career.
Or personally, it's not like a viable career to an external person, it's more of that person's confidence in their skill set, right?
I think, okay, I have a little bit of a philosophical answer to that. I think ultimately it's about the word passion is overloaded, but I'll tell you, let's put another spin to it. Find something that you're good at. Because if you're able to build a really good application, if you're able to, within that application space, if you're really good at front-end development versus back-end development, if you're really good at that, and if you feel strongly that you're actually good at that, that should kind of be the reason why you're propelling yourself forward. And then, I think opportunities, career, all of that will come in itself. If you're talking about building applications, then yeah, there's plenty of opportunities out there. But I think it's hard to, I would say in a way it's wrong to start the other way around, saying that, hey, there's all of this opportunity here, so let me try to fit myself into that, because that's a recipe for disaster in the sense that, yeah, you might get it, but if you're not like really good at it, or if you're not like really excited about it, then it's going to be very tough to like sustain there. So it's not about getting in, it's about sustaining with what you have or what you got into. So I would say start with like, determining what you're really good at, and then like kind of propelling yourself forward. I don't know if that helped, but
That's perfect. Thank you.
Last question on this, back to his, instead of talking about big steps, what about like little steps? You talked about WhatsApp, what about apps exclusive to Meta, like Instagram, social media apps, etc.? Do you think that there would be a major change of obsolescence of using those on phones and kind of moving towards the headsets in general?
yeah, so that's very similar, right? Like I said, it's sometimes it's nice to like, be, when I use my headset, again, personal opinion, when I'm on my headset, when I'm playing a game or when I'm doing something, it's nice to stay connected. And it's also nice to like do some other things on the side with some of these, regular 2D applications. So it's very hard to predict how all of this is going to like pan out, especially compared to, its predecessors like phones and Apple Watch and all of that stuff. Only time will tell. But yes, point is that you can do those things today. So there's WhatsApp, there is Xbox, and then there's an app like Vermilion and Piano Vision already. So we are trying to put it out there so that it becomes something that users are able to enjoy. But will it like replace, make other things obsolete? It's hard to tell. I think a good example is like, on roads today, you have trucks, you have cars, you have bikes. So they all kind of coexist, right? So that would be the same thing, I guess. It's not like laptops are gone. It's not like desktops are gone. Today you go to Hammond Computer Labs, you still have desktop computers, right? So maybe they'll all coexist. So we'll see.
So we have a handful of online questions. So let me let me get a couple online questions in. So what do you think about Vision Pro by Apple? Is it the main competitor of Meta Quest 3?
I think Vision Pro is one competitor. There are other players in the market too. You know, there's like Magic Leap and stuff. So, to my earlier point, we are looking at just all players in the market, but ultimately, you know, it's about like what Quest 3 is good at. Like, you know, we are at $499 and we are giving you a mixed reality experience with over 500 applications. So that is our value proposition. Now, if our users or if our customers are telling us something else, then we are going to be taking that feedback. But there's not any one company or any one product that we see as like competition. I think for us, it's just being aware of what is out in the market.
Let me ask one more from online, and we'll switch back to here for a bit. What is the end goal of the Quest? Is it just a convenient way to play games and learn skills, or do you see it becoming a thing people wear in their daily lives?
Great question. So in my earlier slides, I said that like there are over 500 applications. They're not all games, right? So there are games, there's fitness, there's entertainment. So absolutely not. Like, in fact, I encourage all of you to think whatever is possible. In fact, all of the apps that I cited as examples, maybe one of them was a game. I think, yeah, I Expect You to Die was the only one that was a game. But Vermilion, Arcayo, Piano Vision, these are not games. You know, these are like real apps that kind of transcend. Maybe they have a gamification, gaming aspect to it, but they're not games. So absolutely not. So by virtue of saying that, I think this device is like kind of Quest is meant to like be something that I would call as, hey, how can you do like regular computing on it? In fact, like one of our apps is the browser. We have a browser app. So inside Quest, just like you would open Chrome, you can open the Meta Quest browser and you can browse. You can go to youtube.com or you can go to linkedin.com if that's what you want to do on a Quest headset. So you can do all of these different things, like all kinds of tasks that you would achieve on a regular phone or on a desktop computer. So definitely not just a gaming console or a gaming device. It goes way beyond that.
Transitioning a bit back into your personal journey, so like how do you transition into product manager at Meta, or were you like at PM at Microsoft as well? How was that transition exactly? How do you feel about it, what was the process? And just with your personal experience overall.
Yeah.
Can I just piggyback on that? And like, what skill sets did you need specifically for PM or to get that first job?
Great question. Yeah. Firstly, I need to thank Penn State. It was the Penn State Career Fair that helped me, by the way. So, but funny story. I was studying engineering science here at Penn State, but my wife, she was in the computer science department, and then she reached out to me saying that, hey, look, there are a handful of companies that have come to the career fair, and I think you should like go and drop off your resume to Microsoft. So it was me being very reluctant. I go and I drop my resume to the Microsoft HR person, and they ended up calling me for an interview. So I interviewed with them. It turns out that they wanted skills. So to answer your question, they wanted someone who has done a lot of math courses, has background in statistics, has some idea of what entrepreneurship is and being able to communicate effectively your ideas. That was the entire interview process on how can you communicate. And they wanted someone who could learn and adapt. The last skill set that they did ask for was, do you have any idea about any of these computing languages, and can you speak to the tech language in general. So one of the courses that I ended up taking with Dr. Jeremy Gurnand was a course on artificial intelligence. I had taken that course just because I was interested in it, but that course gave me the language that I needed to speak for my interview. So my journey was, I would say, like, in a way, accidental in the way I got into product management, but probably the happiest of all accidents that ever happened. But if I were to, make it a little more actionable for you all, is, I don't know if career fairs are still a thing, but if it is, I urge you all to go to career fairs. I went to every single career fair when I was at Penn State. I would always suit up, tie up, go to Bryce Jordan or wherever it would happen. Career fairs are phenomenal. In fact, Penn State does a great job with career fairs. So I think that year or that semester, I was kind of pushing back on going to the career fair, but I did go because my wife insisted, and good things happened. So go to career fairs, put yourself out there, have as many conversations as possible. And then in terms of skill set, learn what's out there. Like if there's Gen AI, try to go and learn about Gen AI. So many online courses for free, and I'm sure Penn State also has a bunch of courses. So learning that is really important if it's trending. And then you all, potentially most of you here are engineers, right? So maybe, I'm not sure. But, the math courses and statistics, these are evergreen courses. So, try to associate yourself with as many STEM courses as possible, because it won't really help you solve problems on a day-to-day basis, but it helps you with mindset on approach to problem solving, which is the common denominator for anything that is out there. So you need to go and solve problems ultimately. So what is the approach to problem solving? That's what these courses teach you. So hope that helps.
Does AI pose a threat to anything you do in the VR industry?
Not that I'm aware of, but no, I mean, I don't see any threat. Like for example, Microsoft announced something called as Copilot, which, if anything, is helping you write those emails quickly. So I think there are always pros and cons. I think threat is a pretty strong word. There are always pros and cons. But I think ultimately, it's how you approach the tech. Tech can do a million things. It's ultimately how you approach it and how you want it to help you more than anything else. So I don't see anything as a threat per se, unless you make it a threat, I guess.
There's a lot of questions coming online, so I'm going to combine two here. Should there be a limit? What should be the limit for being on Quest per day or per week? And then part two, what's your favorite app on Quest?
Okay. On the first point, I don't have a good answer. I think there are some online resources that I can point to that talks about this, but I don't have a good answer, so I don't want to say something that is not right. So in terms of, I think, what was the second question? My favorite game or my favorite app. I think my favorite app is this app called Beat Saber, which is on Quest. Personal favorite. I love that app. If I'm lazy to go and go to the gym and get my workout, I'm usually on my headset playing Beat Saber, and it kind of gives me the perfect workout. Probably explains the secret behind my fitness, but yeah. If there are no more questions, I can quickly walk through some of the other slides, but happy to take more questions. App Lab. So, if you, amidst all of this conversation, if you're building an app, you don't have to submit it to the store and do all of those things just yet. You can just do something really small. We have something called as App Lab, where we have a lot of applications from developers where they just want to put it out and test it and see how users are using it. So it's a really good avenue for you all to consider, where you build something, it's scrappy, but you still want to put it out there. App Lab. And you can scan this QR code. It has a website that tells you how to go about this. And it's something that I highly encourage you all to do, because there's nothing as good as getting real user feedback. So when you put it out there, you're going to get some of the feedback back to you. So it's a really, really good program that we have. The other thing that I want to chat about was Piano Vision, which I'll show you in just a bit. That's an app that you can purchase from our store. So which means if you ultimately get into this, you want to build your app and you also want to monetize, there is monetization. There's monetization opportunity for you, which means you can submit it to the Quest store. You'll monetize when users purchase. You'll also monetize from in-app purchases. So which means when users are using your app, within the app, you can sell more things to them. So those are some avenues as well. And of course, any business, startup, or any business, ultimately you should be thinking about, like, okay, what is my revenue model? And this is something that we help you with.
So I see this as like another go-to-market strategy, is to test something you have. Do you like guidelines? Like, for example, let's just say I build something really cool, I submit it. What is like the process for, like, what are the standards I would have to meet to get onto that platform?
Scan this QR code. Yeah. So it's like very clearly laid out on what it would be very hard for me to summarize. Like, I think there are a few points that are laid out, but this gives you those guidelines as well. So there are guidelines. So you can't submit whatever you want, but like there are some guidelines, like design guidelines and stuff.
Thank you.
So Piano Vision, which I spoke about earlier, learning how to play piano, they actually are, again, available on Quest. And like I said, they monetize through the store. They monetize through our store and in-app purchases. So here's a really quick video.
There's something in humans' nature that really connects with music. It feels very transportive for me. I think everyone needs to learn the language to be able to express themselves with it. It was always really hard for me to acquire music. It just didn't click in my head naturally. As someone with ADHD, learning to play and learn music is challenging because traditional methods aren't really built for people like us. I'm Zach Reed. I'm the founder and CEO of Piano Vision. When I saw what you could do with mixed reality in the Quest 3, I felt a sense of awe and inspiration. And I started developing Piano Vision and thinking about what it would look like to just walk into my room, throw the headset on, and like feel the music come out of my hands.
Music education is so important because we need an outlet to express ourselves. Of course, me being a piano teacher, I think everyone deserves that. Piano Vision is an app that allows users to learn piano all on their own. You do not need a teacher to guide you. It's totally a self-learning experience. And it allows you to create a piano on your messy desktop if you need to. Being able to create a virtual piano in front of you allows everyone to have a piano without having to purchase one.
Hey, Benjamin.
Hey, Zach, how you going? Hey, we've got a few minutes before some students come in. Would you like to play some piano?
Yeah, sure. Working with Benjamin, the multiplayer enables him to teach me and help me on my own piano journey from across the world.
Oh, I think Section A was no problems for you.
I'm extremely excited about the multiplayer and all of the different ways that people can connect.
You can choose the section yourself, but we're doing something different this time. You both are going to challenge each other.
I want to unlock all of the potential possibilities with mixed reality.
It's a really exciting, compelling experience.
Oh, very cool.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
If you have a Quest, so much more becomes immediately accessible to you. It's like the world really opens up for you.
So in this example, you saw so many things, right? So wear your headset, learn how to play, but I can also learn how to play with someone really far. So you're able to defy distance, which is what I spoke about earlier. Don't worry about physical limitations. There's no physics, but you can inspire from the real world. That's exactly what Piano Vision is doing. So it's a great story. You're able to do all of this with like your loved ones and friends, all in this headset. So I know that a lot of people already spoke to me about like about AI and stuff. I'll just end with this and probably perhaps open it up for more questions. Predecessors, successors, that's what we spoke about. AI is no different. So this is something Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, like he spoke to us once about this, and I was like super inspired, and I thought I'll share it with you. This is the Flatiron Building in 1905. What you see here is horse carriages. Fast forward 20 years, 30 years, there are no more horse carriages, and you see all the artifacts of the Industrial Revolution. You see better roads. You also see automobiles. But what you don't see are two things: electricity and the internal combustion engine. They're hidden. It's underneath. When you build your apps, that's exactly what you should be thinking about. Like today, we all take AI for granted, right? Like you open something, there's AI in it. But with ChatGPT and all of the innovations that happened in the last couple of years, now AI is also an assistant that's with you. You're able to ask things to it. It is there with you, and you're able to do things with it. That is going to become normal. So much that you don't see it. It's abstracted out. People don't really like think about it. It's like, oh yeah, I just did it with Copilot. Yeah, that's it. It's not like, oh, it's an agent, it's AI, none of those things. It's just going to be something that's embedded. And as you know, AI at Meta is big. We have our own large language models called Llama 2. Something that I think you all should go and again, explore a bit. It's built on familiar languages like Python. So I'm assuming you all are learning how to do Python. Python is a great language. That's what I learned. But then it's available to you. These frameworks are available to you. Large language models are available to you to go and build these things. And I think that takes me to the last point, which is you all are ultimately building a company. One of the things that I've learned is not any one function is more important than the other. So as you build your company, think about engineering as important as product management, as important as program management, as important as data science. These artifacts must come together to build a successful business. Which takes me back to where I started. Set a goal, set a vision. I had to set a goal. Scuba diving was the last one, which I wrote in 2011. It took me 11 years to go and do it. So sometimes, I'm not saying that scuba diving is a big goal or anything, but sometimes setting a goal is important so that it reminds you of what you're trying to achieve, so that even though everything comes in between what you're trying to do and your goal, you still remain focused on what you want to achieve. And I think as entrepreneurs, that's really important. As you build your company, to ship a feature for me, there's so many things that comes in between me and shipping that feature. So Quest 3, to ship Quest 3, so many things would come in between us, right? But ultimately the goal was to ship Quest 3, and we had to go and achieve it. So keep that in mind. Hope that is inspiring enough for you all. With that, I'll end my presentation. I'll take more questions if you all have any. Thank you.
I have many ideas and I want to make them a reality. How can I make that happen on Quest, and what's the best app to start with?
Many ideas for an app. Maybe I didn't get the question. They have many ideas for building an app, or many ideas for using a Quest.
I have many ideas and I want to make them a reality. How can I make that happen on Quest, and what's the best app to start with?
I see. If I understand the question correctly, I think they have many ideas to build an app. That's probably what I'm going to assume. The way I would start with this is something that I'm sure there's a professor here who can also append to this. There's something called as product market fit. I don't know if you all know about this, but that's where I would start. I would start with something small. There's this saying in tech where pictures and videos speak 1,000 words, but a demo speaks 1,000,000 words. Okay, so try to build a prototype of all those ideas if possible, but I would start maybe with the 2 top ideas and assess product market fit, which means take it to real customers. If you're building an app for restaurants, if you're building an app for somebody else, take it to that customer and see what they have to tell you. Product market fit is probably where I would start before, like, the last thing to do is starting with a piece of technology or starting with some kind of form factor, right? The best thing to do is start where your customers are and what they want, and that's what product market fit is.
So, it's my 4th year here at Penn State. I'm trying to learn as fast as I can. This has been a debate in my head. If I want to build something really cool, should I repeat?
No, I'm good, but.
So, if I have a really good idea and I feel like I have a product market fit in my head, should I build it out to a point just so it can function and then talk to people first?
Yes.
So have a demo first, and once the demo is like just enough to prove my point, then move forward?
Yes, 100%. That bullseye. Like, spend time thinking about it. Build something. It doesn't have to be perfect, color and font and all of that. If it's able to convey the point, I think you're good to go. Take it to a real customer, see what they have to say. Product market fit in you just in your own silo may not actually be product market fit. You'll be surprised when you actually take it to a real customer. They'll tell you 10 different things that you haven't even thought about. So, yeah. In fact, I'll give you an example. When on Microsoft Teams, when we started talking to customers, they were the ones who said that, oh, when I'm on a Teams call, I want the ability to also do something called as polling, where I could have an app like SurveyMonkey and send out a poll. So until then, we were like, let's build the best video conferencing experience. People should be able to get on a call, hang up, all of that stuff. But when we took it to real customers, they were like, oh, all this is great, but can you also give us this polling thing? And then that spun up an entire new project area for us, which ended up becoming the Teams meetings app platform, where we gave it to developers like SurveyMonkey to build apps and like ship those apps. So customers, they will tell you something that you would have never heard of or thought about.
Thank you. I have another question, but I want to give someone else a chance. Anyone wants to speak?
Hi, so I wanted to ask a question, I guess, continuing off of what Matt said, on, let's say we already have a team, how do you delegate specifically, like, the improvement side? So, like, if you have a team of people that is gathering data, how do you most effectively determine, for example, like, what KPIs are going to be good towards determining how good your product is, and how you can use that to keep growing?
so it actually goes back to my point about job functions, right? So there's a function called data science. Usually, they are the ones who kind of help with a few things. When you have a piece of product, they are the ones who typically tell you what exactly users are doing within that product. And then, as a product manager, me, I look at those things and I say that what are considered high value actions versus low value actions. A good example of high value action is I'm on LinkedIn and I sign up for LinkedIn Premium. That's high value action. Whereas I'm on LinkedIn, I'm not even stopping to see any advertisement and I keep scrolling. Good, I get engagement, but is it high value? Yeah, it is still high value, but then what do I do with it? So typically, it's the way I would start is something called as user journeys to see what the journey point is in these applications. What are these users actually doing? And then for you to categorize them as high value action versus some action that is still valuable to the business versus low value action. Low value action is them signing out. If they sign out, that's a low value action for you. So maybe the end of your business too, who knows. But so I would categorize it that way and start with the journey point. When you're starting off as a company, you don't need like a lot of talent. It could be you doing all of these things yourself. But as you grow, I think it's important to think about the EPDD framework. Like how do you have engineering informing data science and product management?
I was just wondering if you weren't in the field of mixed reality headsets or anything like that, what field do you think you would be working on right now? It couldn't be one you're currently in.
Not at all in tech, you mean?
Sure, I like that.
I should have said this in Who Am I? My mother is actually a music teacher. So I grew up learning music, and I used to be a stage actor, thespian. You can tell probably from all my acting skills today. So at one point, I did want to venture into film business and movie making and kind of become a film director at some point. But my parents were very clear that is something that they were not going to support. So rightfully so. I don't think I would have really liked that life. Who knows? It's a Schrodinger cat. But yeah, that would have been I would have pursued it to some extent until maybe I failed and then got to doing something else. But yeah, that's kind of where my heart is. I do enjoy the cinematic process, movie making process, green screen, all of those things. Just like how I wanted to be an insider of tech and see what it is to build these things. Even today, I have this dream of being an insider of cinema and seeing what it is to make all of those visual effects and the movies that we watch. So that would have been my career.
If it wasn't tech, somewhere else in tech, what would it be?
Like I said, movie director, becoming a film writer. Sorry, maybe I didn't get.
Still in tech.
No, it would be in the showbiz. It would be in Hollywood.
As if you could pick a different field that was still
In tech, within tech, a different field that is. Sorry. I think there's still a ton of opportunity now with Gen AI. So I think that would be a great place. In fact, the AI course was what helped me land my first job. So now that it's taking off again, so I think it's a great area to be in. But I think with the current landscape, I think it's also there are a lot of applications. So we need to really think about, okay, there's a technology which is Gen AI, and then what is the real application that's going to actually help us solve real problems that other developers and other apps are not already solving. Just being yet another player, personally to me, is not as exciting. So if there's something really unique, that would excite me, and I would consider being there.
Another question, from your competitor, the chip, inserting a chip into your head, would that be the next generation
When you say chip, what do you
So
mean?
like microchip, so like same thing that Quest 3 is, but there's a physical, just like touching your head.
Oh, I see, I see. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think we have okay, one last question.
So,
That's not for you.
how do the apps work? Is it on device or through a cloud, or is it connected to? Does it have an option to be connected to a PC?
These are standalone devices, so you don't need a PC to connect them. In terms of how your app is running, it typically depends on the app developer. So when you submit an app package, there's like a basic version of the app that's running on the hardware. It really depends. If you're building like a game that requires a lot of hardware acceleration, then I think as an app designer, you should try to run them locally. And we also try to run them locally. But it really depends on the app design, the type of app. Maybe some apps don't require all of that acceleration, and you can run them off the cloud by fetching them from the cloud through network calls. It really depends on the application that you're building. So Beat Saber and all of these apps, these are game-intensive apps. So you get a balance of running it on the system versus fetching from the cloud.
So, say games like battle royale games like Fortnite or anything like that. So you can't have them in real time. Is that what you're trying to say? Or
No, so you can. It depends on how you build it. So if you want to do it natively, we have the resources for it. There is hardware resources. So typically to give you a little more of an explanation, so there's something called as immersive apps and immersive games. When you are running that, a significant portion of the hardware is actually given to you as the app developer. So within that boundary, you can run your apps. And we are able to run an app like Beat Saber, which is pretty intensive. And it runs in this exclusive mode where it gets most of the compute that's available on the hardware. So yeah, so if you're building a game and if you're in 3D mode, you get most of the compute power that we have on these headsets. So you shouldn't be seeing like lags, major lags, or let's put it this way, perceptible lags or delays in your game. Try it out, yeah. Keep me posted if you see any of that.
Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you Rajesh for this.
Thank you so much. Amazing questions. Really appreciate you all taking the time.